Welcome back. Y'all are probably just as busy as I am this time of year, and because of that, you're trying to simplify some things that are happening in your life. For me, when I feel like things are just getting kind of crazy, I try to simplify my life in the kitchen, and that has brought me to a full week of 30-minute meals. These are a variety of different meals. I really tried to kind of open up what I was making this week, not just stick with something like sandwiches or pizza, but make it a little bit more diverse and interesting. So I hope that you enjoy. My first meal is chicken wraps. I've shared these before, but I've been doing something really fun with my chicken that I want to share. But firstly, if you're not doing store-bought wraps, you're gonna have to do a little bit more prep work. For my tortillas, I'm able to cook all of these in about 20 minutes time. You do have to prepare your dough about an hour and a half before you plan on using it. I do a cup of water, 180 grams of sourdough discard, 3.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of sea salt, and 2 teaspoons of sugar. Mix that together, let it sit for an hour, knead it one more time, and then you're ready to make your tortillas. For my chicken, I have these chicken tenders, and as you can see, I am pouring my sourdough discard over the top and then adding in my seasoning. I have Himalayan salt, I have pepper, seasoning salt. I think I put a little bit of parsley in here, and this creates just a beautiful glaze for your chicken. So if you don't have time to do crispy chicken where you have 3 or 4 bowls and you're dipping chicken in each bowl, this is quick, it is easy, it is so flavorful, and it takes minutes to cook because they're cutlets, and it stays really juicy because of the sourdough discard. We're about 25 minutes into this meal because of the tortillas and because of the chicken, but we are almost done. I'm gonna create our honey mustard sauce. You're gonna need an egg, about a cup of avocado oil. I put in a little bit of olive oil too, splash of white vinegar, splash of lime. I'm gonna add in sea salt, pepper for taste, mustard, and of course honey. I'm using my hand blender to blend that up really, really well. That's gonna be our sauce for our chicken, and just look at our chicken. It is beautiful. You can do whatever toppings you want. We are kind of a classic just lettuce, tomato, and cheese family. So I'm gonna put my dressings into some separate bowls to put onto the table, and then we can dress our wraps how we like. A little bit of green onion is super good as well. If you have sauerkraut, that is such a great add-on to this and really good for your gut. This week, we actually decided to have these chicken wraps twice because not only are they super easy and quick to make, but they are delicious. They make great leftovers, and I made enough of the sauce to last us for 2 and a little bit more batches of chicken wraps for dinner. The tortillas are so soft. I can't wait for my website to be up for me to share more of these recipes on there. But for now, thank you for supporting me on here, and I hope that you like it. For my next recipe, it's salmon bowls. And a salmon bowl is great because you can, honestly, it doesn't have to be salmon. If you have chicken left over, if you have some sweet beef meatballs, like you can do whatever you want with this, any type of protein. But what I'm doing is getting my sushi rice soaking. I am a huge rice person. It is easy for the kids to eat, it's delicious, and you can do so much with it. But what I'm gonna do is just soak my rice for now while I'm preparing my pan for Brussels sprouts here. I'm a huge Brussels sprout fan. I and I say that because I like the way that I cook them. I've had Brussels sprouts and gone, these are mushy and bland. I like my vegetables roasted and coated in butter. So I am putting some smashed garlic and butter on a pan. I'm putting it into my oven, and I'm just gonna let that butter heat up and melt while I am tackling my rice. I am rinsing my rice really well. Rinse your rice. Just do it. I probably rinse it 4, 5, 6 plus times until the water runs clear. I'm putting it into my rice cooker. I enjoy my rice cooker because it is a hands-off way of cooking rice. And now I'm going to tackle these Brussels sprouts. I used to very much dislike Brussels sprouts because every time I had them, they were mushy and without flavor. But this is my favorite way to do them, and even my kids eat them. They really like them. So I like to trim off the nub. These are fresh, not frozen, and then cut them in half. On my pan that already has the smashed garlic and butter, I removed it from the oven. I added in some seasoning salt, and then I'm gonna place my Brussels sprouts onto the pan. I kind of just want to get an idea of how many I'm gonna need. So cut them in half, trim off that nub. Once they're all on there, the pan should be pretty cool, and you can go ahead and start turning over the Brussels sprouts, getting them fully coated in the butter, and then making sure that the flat side lays down. This is gonna help all of the yummy flavor and butter get in between the layers of the Brussels sprout. You're gonna put it in the oven for 425 or at 425 for about 20-25 minutes, even longer. You can kind of just keep checking the bottom and seeing where you're at. I'm going to take my salmon that has lemon pepper salt on it. I'm adding a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to pop that in there as well, and those are going to cook together. I'm going to check out my rice, which is looking great. I have my rice paddle. I do like adding a little bit of rice vinegar to my sushi rice because not only does it give it flavor, but it helps it stick together a little bit more, which makes it easier for the kids to enjoy and not make as big of a mess. Salmon is more expensive for sure over even just chicken, but I do really enjoy it because it takes like 10 minutes to cook and it comes out beautiful pretty much every single time. So we have our rice, our sprouts, our salmon, we put a little bit of soy sauce on, some lemon juice, and it is just a winner for all of us. Next, I realized that my family was a little bit sick and I needed to get some ramen and broth into their bodies. So we're gonna do a little bit of a quick ramen today. Ramen for me is no official recipe. It is what I have. I taste as I go, and I actually have a lot of fun when I do this. So first things first, to a pot, I'm adding in 2 packs of unsalted chicken broth, and then I'm adding in my flavor. So my flavor varies on what I have on hand, but right now I had fresh garlic as well as ginger. So I'm gonna grate both of those into my pot here. As always, using excessive amounts of both ginger and garlic. I'm adding in soy sauce. I had rice vinegar as well, seasoned rice vinegar. I'm adding in a little bit of fish sauce and miso paste. I even had red curry paste, and I thought we are going to throw some of that in there. Again, this is not an official recipe, but what we're shooting for is just a beautiful broth, and if the broth is amazing, everything else is going to be totally fine. So I'm going to let that broth simmer. I'm adding in some minced garlic because I realized I needed way more. Whenever I know that a week is going to be crazy, I do usually keep some cooked chicken breast or even a whole cooked chicken just in the fridge for when I need it. But we were not so well prepped this time. So I do have just some raw chicken that I'm going to slice up. I'm going to put it into a oiled pan and add in some salt and pepper. So if you know you're going to be busy in a certain week, it is such a blessing for you to be like, okay, for an hour, I'm going to put together some meat or cook some meat or try to get some bread going or something, because it's going to give you a leg up for when you're really, really busy. But again, I didn't have the opportunity to do that, nor did I think that far through. So anyway, what I'm doing here is cooking the chicken. I am testing out the broth. It's awesome, but I am wanting to add in some peanut butter. It just gives it a little bit of a Thai peanut flavoring. And then I'm going to take charge of these mushrooms. They're so good. These are just like a long stem white mushroom. They are beautiful. If you don't like a classic mushroom and you look at these and you go, oh, what the heck? No. These are divine. So what you can do with these is put them on a pan with melted butter. You can toss them with some salt or sea salt or whatever you like and cook them. You can cook them till they're soft. You can cook them until they're crispy. I really like broiling these on high. It gives an amazing flavor quickly and is the perfect topping for ramen. So the chicken's done cooking. I'm gonna pull it, just start kind of pulling it apart. And then I have some ramen noodles that are just chilling out in my pot that don't take too long to cook at all. Again, this is just a quick, cheap ramen. I want to add in some greens, so I am adding in handfuls of spinach to my broth, as well as I have some parsley hanging out in a jar. I'm going to break some of those sprigs apart and put it in. I'm moving my mushrooms around, tossing them, and I did actually end up putting them back into the oven to cook a little further. But this is what we got: our broth, our noodles, mushrooms on top, freshly squeezed lime, and a little bit of sriracha. This is delicious, so good, and we had extras to reinforce a second dinner of ramen the next day. But now we're moving on to a soup. And I know most of the time you hear a soup and you think this is an all-day affair, but this is literally a 30-minute soup that I just can't get over it. It is incredible. So to a large cookie sheet, I'm adding in olive oil. I'm going to take 3 sweet potatoes, peel them. As you can see, I'm peeling them quickly. This is something I want to do with speed and haste. If you have nowhere to be, take your time. I got places to be. I got things to do. So we are quickly chopping up this sweet potato. Do small slices and dices here. If you make chunks that are too big, they're not going to fully cook in time. You're also going to put any other vegetable you want. I had some mini potatoes that I needed to use up. I'm going to add those to my pan. I also have some ginger that I am chopping up and putting on my pan as well. And of course, garlic and a red onion. Toss your veggies in the olive oil, mix it around. I also recommend adding in your spices here. I'm doing a lot of sea salt, garlic powder because it's such a go-to, and some mustard powder for some zing. I'm going to also add in some water to my pan. I didn't show that, but I add in about half a cup of water to my pan. We're going to put this in the oven at 425 for about 15 minutes. If you did bigger chunks, do more like 20 minutes. But what that's going to do is heavily soften everything so we can blend it up in our soup. To a soup pan, I'm going to add in butter, onion, I'm going to add in some frozen peas, salt and pepper, and then 2 cans of organic coconut milk. So some people might think this is kind of a weird way to make soup, but what you want to do is bring this to a bit of a boil. It's going to help release a ton of water from the coconut milk and make it much more creamy. And then you're going to take everything that was on that cookie sheet, put it into your pot. That is going to help soften that as well. Grab your hand beater and just start blending. If you don't want your peas blended, feel free to add those after, but I like them a little bit blended, a little bit not. Like, I don't blend this until it's totally smooth. We still have some chunks, and that's kind of how I like it. I'm also going to add in some chicken that I had prepped. Way to go, me. I'm adding in thyme, sage, cumin, salt and pepper, right to taste, and it is a divine 30-minute soup. We had this for dinner. I'm expecting to have it for lunch tomorrow and the next day, paired with some sourdough buns and Swiss cheese. Thank you guys for joining me for this week's video of 30-minute meals. Let me know what you want to see next, and I will see you all later. Bye.